On Focus today, we are looking at the job of Securities and Exchange Commission for the Nigerian capital market. And here with me is my guest, Mr. Henry Rowlands. He is the Executive Commissioner at the Securities and Exchange Commission, holding the portfolio of corporate services. Welcome, Mr. Rowlands.
Thank you very much.
Tell me, as the Executive Commissioner at SEC, and you do corporate services, briefly, what does corporate services mean in this case relating to market and investments?
Yeah, as you will know, the core activities of the Securities and Exchange Commission is to develop and regulate the market. That can only be done successfully if you have the human resources component, people that will drive the core activities. So I oversee human resources, as well as you know that if human resources exist and you cannot give them what they require in terms of finances, their jobs will not be properly done. So I equally oversee the activities of the finance and accounts of the Commission. In conjunction with that, all forms of back offices activities where the office that the people will sit to do their core work, the tables they will use, the AC and the rest of them that do relates to the procurement activities of the Commission. I equally oversee that. So you see that our activities as corporate services totally complements and make possible the core activities of the SEC, which is the development and regulation of the market.
Great work that you do at SEC there. Securities and Exchange Commission, we know, is the apex regulatory body for the nation's capital market, and you relate with the stock exchange. Let's look at the relationship, direct relationship that SEC has with the stock exchange. Enlighten us a little.
Yeah. If there is no market, the Securities and Exchange Commission has nothing to regulate. All the relationship we maintain with the Nigerian Stock Exchange is that the Nigerian Stock Exchange are the custodians of all the companies that are quoted on the market. The Nigerian Stock Exchange houses the platform on which these companies are traded. And without the companies listed and being traded daily, there is no market of equity activities for the SEC to develop nor regulate. So our direct relationship is that the Nigerian Stock Exchange is licensed or registered by the SEC to practice the role of a platform as the exchange. Exchange is where stocks and bonds are traded or transacted. Such is the direct relationship that we do have. Without the exchange, the Nigerian Stock Exchange, for instance, like I said, if we are not relating together correctly, then we will not be able to maintain a sound, efficient, and transparent market. I can tell you clearly that while the Nigerian Stock Exchange represents the Securities and Exchange Commission as a self-regulatory organization, regulating entities like stockbrokers and the likes, the SEC depends on the Nigerian Stock Exchange to get an efficient market dealing with the brokers.
So at this stage now, who brings out the bulk of the regulations that we see and know, as many as they are?
Yeah, the SEC, being the apex regulator, gives the general guidelines through what is called rules. The Securities and Exchange Commission is operated under a guiding law, Act of the Federal Republic, and the activities of the Nigerian capital market are driven by the content of the Investment and Securities Act that we use as our operating rules. So all forms of laws and rules emanate from there. The Securities and Exchange Commission rolls out those rules. Those rules, the Nigerian Stock Exchange are bound by those rules. But the Nigerian Stock Exchange, because they are a self-regulatory organization, using the power of the Investment and Securities Act, they roll out their own rules and regulations for the members that deal under their platform.
How far do you prevent conflicts, between what the Securities and Exchange Commission does and the Stock Exchange? Because sometimes we appear to see things, maybe especially in the newspapers, as if there is a, disharmony in the operations of the nation's capital market between the stock exchange and the Securities and Exchange Commission.
I can tell you without missing words that conflict has never arisen, because the Nigeria Stock Exchange acknowledges and recognizes that they have their own guiding principles under the law. The SEC has its own guiding principles under the law. Both of us are law-abiding, and because we register and license them for operation, they give appropriate reports. So anytime that the SEC wants anything from the Nigeria Stock Exchange, the Nigeria Stock Exchange does not deny the SEC that opportunity.
Who takes responsibility directly for giving discipline to the markets? Is it SEC or Stock Exchange?
The Securities and Exchange Commission take the apex responsibility. We depend on input and report from the Nigeria Stock Exchange, for example, if there are earning issues. But mind you, both participants in the market can bypass the Nigeria Stock Exchange and come straight to the Securities and Exchange Commission to lay complaints on their own. And then we take necessary action. Where the issue relates to Nigeria Stock Exchange, we will normally refer the case to the Nigeria Stock Exchange to get their opinion on such issues before we take any action. But we take optimal responsibility as the Securities and Exchange Commission.
What's your support level from the governments for the markets?
Well, the support level are quite numerous. I can tell you, there are 3 arms of government. For example, the executive is responsible for appointing the board of the Securities and Exchange Commission. They are responsible for authorizing the appointment of every senior personnel. So to that extent, we get full executive support. Legislation, all the rules and laws that we do, including the operating law which we stand by, the legislature are responsible for supporting us. They carry out oversight functions on the Securities and Exchange Commission and the market at large to see that if there are any of the rules that are creating impediments, they assist us to amend them. And I can tell you without missing word that when you talk in terms of finances, the SEC does not generate money from the government. The SEC rests solely on what the market is able to provide for it. So if the market fails, the SEC has no opportunity to survive. You can see why we must necessarily keep abreast and relate very nicely with the Securities and Exchange Commission, Nigeria Stock Exchange, to ensure that the market does not fail. Yes, that's why we cannot allow any form
the market must really exist.
No conflict at all. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rowlands,
Thank you,
for this particular interview.
I appreciate you.
Henry Rowlands, Executive Commissioner at the Securities and Exchange Commission.
And that's it for today on Business Week. I'll leave you with the graphics of the commodities market. Join me again same time next week. I am Yemisi Landredo.